How I bought an apartment in another country and lost everything. Do not buy an apartment in another country before listening to this video. Since I am originally from Europe, where there is almost 6 months of cold weather, freezing winters, and short days, I was looking for an opportunity to buy an apartment or condo in a warmer location abroad, where my family could spend the winter in a warm place and avoid the cold European winters. I was mainly looking at destinations in the Canary Islands and later in Egypt. I spent quite some time searching for suitable properties online, and in the end, I found an apartment in Hurghada, Egypt, that I decided met my requirements. I contacted a company in Egypt, and they sent me details about the apartment. The location was good, almost in the center of Hurghada and within walking distance to the sea. This apartment complex was still under construction, so the developer who was building this apartment sent us a contract in which the payment terms were agreed upon, a portion upon signing the contract and the rest after a specified period following the contract signing. When signing the contract, the employees of the developer were very friendly, but that changed later into a nightmare. Even though the developer did not complete the apartment complex within the contractually agreed timeframe, they demanded that we pay the full agreed purchase price. When I refused and insisted on adhering to the contractual deadlines, the developer insisted that I pay the full purchase price, despite the apartment complex not being completed within the contract's timeframe. I had no choice but to buy a plane ticket and travel to Egypt to check what was happening with my property. There, the developer assured me that everything was fine with the project and that such delays were quite common in Egypt, presenting it as a normal practice in the country. I had no choice but to pay the remaining amount and wait for the completion of the apartment, which took almost 2 years. When we were notified that the apartment was finished, I asked a friend who was traveling to Egypt to check on the status of the apartment and take possession of it on my behalf. At that time, I received information that some other family was living in my apartment, and it seemed like the developer had possibly sold or allocated the same apartment to someone else besides me. I had no choice but to hire a lawyer in Egypt to help me legally resolve the matter. In the meantime, the developer went bankrupt, and the lawyer kept sending me new demands for payment of legal fees. When I saw that these legal fees were nearing half the value of the apartment, I gave up on the matter and did not want to incur additional costs. So now, in my apartment in Hurghada, Egypt, other family lives. In conclusion, I have been dealing with real estate for many years, so my advice to anyone buying property in another country is to choose a country where the legal system operates similarly to Europe or the USA. Do not buy property in countries where the legal system does not function. If you buy property in such countries as your second home, there is a high probability that you will never receive the property. If you do manage to get it, there is a high chance that a local might unlawfully occupy it, and due to the dysfunctional legal system, you will have a great deal of difficulty in evicting them or risk losing the property. As I have discovered, in countries like Egypt and similar places, they see Europeans as a source of money and constantly seek opportunities to extract as much money as possible from us. A friend of mine had a similar experience when he bought an apartment in Cuba. Since foreigners were not allowed to buy property in Cuba, he bought the apartment in his girlfriend's name, who was Cuban. When he briefly left for Europe and returned to Cuba, the apartment was gone, and his girlfriend had a new boyfriend. In short, he lost everything. Fortunately, the values there are not high. To repeat, my advice is to buy real estate in countries where the legal system operates similarly to Europe, the USA, Canada, Australia, etc. In one of my upcoming posts, I will describe the procedures if a foreigner buys real estate in the USA, so I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to ask me for additional information in the comments and to share your experiences with buying property in another country.